We turn now to the troubled West Bank city of Hebron, where the city's Palestinian residents have been at the receiving end of a new wave of attacks from hardline Jewish settlers. Violence flared last week after Israeli riot police forcibly evicted some 250 settlers from a disputed Palestinian-owned home that the settlers had occupied last year. Tensions have been high ever since an Israeli high court ruling last month that ordered the settlers to vacate the building. Following Thursday's eviction, settlers from the nearby Kiryat Arba settlement went on what the Israeli press has described as a, quote, rampage against Palestinians. They shot at Palestinians, set fire to homes, cars, and olive groves, and defaced mosques and graves. Hebron resident Hosni Abu Saifan was among the Palestinian victims of settler gunfire.
The settlers attacked us at the house and fired live bullets on us. With a handgun, they shot my father. Then later, they set the house on fire. There was only a few meters between us, maybe 1 or 1.5 meters. And he probably had his hand on the gun too when he shot my father.
The shots fired by the settlers at Hosni Abu Saifan and his father were captured on video. The footage shows a settler firing a handgun at the 2 Palestinian men at close range. The video was shot by a family member of the injured men. He was using a camera distributed by the Israeli human rights group B'Tselem that has given more than 100 video cameras to Palestinian families across the West Bank so they can record violence by settlers and the Israeli army. The settlers caught on camera have reportedly turned themselves in to the Hebron police. But the footage caused a minor stir inside Israel, and outgoing Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert condemned the settlers' actions, saying they constituted, quote, a pogrom. We're joined now by 2 guests via video stream from Hebron, who work closely with Israeli human rights group B'Tselem. Mikhail Zhupraner works with B'Tselem's Shooting Back project that distributes cameras to Palestinians, and he also runs an experimental internet TV channel called HEB2. Isa Amr is a longtime resident of Hebron and a field worker for B'Tselem. Welcome to Democracy Now! Isa Amr, let's begin with you. If you can describe what the latest situation in Hebron is like, and also describe the climate in the city over the past 2 weeks.
Thank you. First, thank you for having us here. The situation now, it's a little bit calm. But the situation was very, let's say, violent, and the settlers were attacking mainly all the houses which is close by the occupied house, where the Israeli army were trying to evacuate them from that building. And after the evacuation, they attacked, as you said in your report, they attacked many houses, they attacked people, they burnt many cars. And now the people in Hebron are very angry, frustrated, disappointed, because the Israeli army and the Israeli police didn't protect them during that evacuation of the settlers from that building.
Isa, how long has this been going on, this violence, and has it continually been escalating? What do you expect to happen in the coming days?
Now the situation is calm because the Israeli police are serious with dealing with the settlers' violence, but Hebron is well known with the presence of settlers who are very radical and who are fanatic settlers, and they believe in transferring the Arabs from the city to Jordan, to Iraq, or to Syria. So the violence is completely seen, and we have many videotapes showing the settlers' violence in the city since long time. But the settlers escalated the violence after occupying that Palestinian house.
Work with Mikhail Zhupraner, you work with B'Tselem's Shooting Back project, and this footage that was captured of the settlers shooting at Palestinians caused quite a stir. It caused Prime Minister Ehud Olmert to call it a pogrom, a very emotionally charged word in Israel. Can you describe what Shooting Back is and the footage that you captured?
Shooting Back is a project that B'Tselem has been running for the past 2 years. It's basically a video distribution, camera distribution project. We give out small video cameras to Palestinian civilians living in what we call hotspots, that is, next to settlements, next to checkpoints, next to military installations, next to the so-called separation barrier, basically areas where we know there are frequent human rights violations, but which usually go undocumented. And the basic idea is to be able to inform the Israeli public, first of all, but also the international public of what is happening in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. And I think video is probably, you know, a picture's worth more than 1,000 words. And I think the success of this project can be measured at a time like this, when a video clip filmed by one of the family members of the three Palestinians who were shot, Jamal Abu Saifan, he filmed the clip himself and was able to reach local media in Israel and international media.
Isa, I have a question for you. You grew up in Hebron. Can you talk about what does it mean that these 250 settlers have been evicted? Now, there's well over 400,000 settlers in the West Bank, and Hebron is one of the flashpoints. Can you describe where the settlers live in Hebron, and what does it mean for the future of settlers in Hebron and the West Bank?
The problem that the settlers are living in the heart of the city. That means they are living between, you can say, 200,000 Palestinians who are living very close to the settlers. And the settlers, they don't like the Arabs who are very close to them, and the Palestinians, they see those settlers are occupying Hebron. So around now 500 settlers are living in the old city of Hebron. They are occupying some houses there. They are the army are closing many roads for because the settlers are there. They are closing the main road, Shuhada Street in Hebron, which connects the southern part and the northern part of Hebron because of the settlers. Many Palestinian houses, they use the ladder to go to their homes because the main door is wielded by the army. Many other Palestinian houses and families, they need to pass 4 or 5 checkpoints in 100 meters to go into their homes. So the daily life there, it's very, very hard and very aggressive life, you can describe it. The people are suffering daily from the settlers' presence in the city. We are not against the Jewish presence, but we are against the radical and the fanatic settlers who are living and declaring Hebron as an Israeli city. And evacuation the settlers from this building, it means nothing. They have to implement the law first before evacuating the settlers. It's very important here in Hebron to implement the law. We have 2 laws here. The Israeli government, they implement the military law on the Palestinian, and they implement the civic law on the settlers, which means double standard. It means a lot, in the ground. If we have any problem with a settler, that means he's under the civilian law, and we are under the military law. And this is something very important. And the settlers in Hebron, they are mainly armed with guns or with weapons. And it's very, very important, from the international world and from the Israeli people to say something about the settlers' weapons. It's very, very important to take off the weapons from them, especially because they are very, very violent people and they believe in violence.
And finally, Michael Jupraner, there are reports of march inside Israel at an Arab town. The settlers will march there on December 15th, reports of that. This combined with the elections in Israel coming up next year. The right-wing Likud party led by Netanyahu seems to be doing very well. Where do you see this going in the coming days, weeks, and months?
I think there's an escalation at the moment in the West Bank, and I think it has to do also with the political atmosphere inside Israel. There's been a growing tendency of the whole political spectrum to kind of drift to the right at the moment, and I think that kind of gives a bit of a sense of liberty for action, or let's say possibilities to behave like this. I would say to the settlers in Hebron, but also elsewhere. There's a little bit of a sense that there's not much of a that the government is not really enforcing the law on the ground. Actually, the eviction, I think, came as a surprise to a lot of people here and elsewhere. that the government decided to step in and take action. But I think for a very long time, since I've been here in Hebron, there's been that feeling that there's really no one in charge. And the elections, which are early elections, that is, the parliament has called for early elections, this kind of sense of political instability, I think that exacerbates the situation rather than assists it.
Well, thank you, Mikhail Zhuprenner. We'll have to leave it there.
Thank
Mikhail
you.
Zhuprenner works with B'Tselem Shooting Back Project, runs an experimental internet TV channel called HEB2, also joined via video stream by Isa Amr, B'Tselem field worker in Hebron.